First things first, I want to thank you so much for making the effort to be with us here this weekend. And our promise is that we're going to give you massive, massive value. And it's all about starting 2025 on the right step. Okay? And I'm going to be asking you to ask questions of yourself and really be honest. Because this event, this weekend, was the catalyst to a lot of people's success last year. And every single time we do events, people say to me, Simon, do you know what? It was when I came to the retreat and I heard this thing and something switched inside of them and the results followed. Okay? So you're in a great, great place. So first things first, I know Guy's just done a handful of questions, but I just want to see in the room who here has no deals, you're just getting started and you're searching for your first deal. Stick your hand up. Okay, and who here has at least one deal and is now looking to scale? Stick your hand up really high and proud. Wow, probably 60% of people with deals. And what we do in our community is, you know, when you join us, you're just on the runway, you're just starting out. When you get your first deal, you join Team Takeoff. Who's in Takeoff then, guys? Who's in Takeoff? Beautiful. Yeah, be proud. Big shout to Leondi and Leondi, new members of Takeoff. And who here, and you can say this with chest, guys, who here is doing, basically has built a 6-figure rent-to-rent empire and is now looking to scale to 7 figures in our first class? Stick your hand up loud and proud. Make some noise for the first class crew, everybody. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. A couple more things I just want to touch on before we're going to get stuck straight into some value. And I always like to ask this, and I want you to be honest with me. Can you do that? All right. Who here isn't really sure exactly what this rent for rent thing is? Who here is like, who the hell is this guy called Simon? And why are you obsessing about him? Okay? Who here has been dragged by a loved one? Like, really? And doesn't really know exactly what's what, but they're here to support their partner. Stick your hand up if that's you. Okay, there's a few of them in the back. So, of course, I would have to just introduce myself, and I want to promise that by the end of this weekend, you're going to know exactly what rent-to-rent is. You're going to know exactly who I and the team are and how you can kickstart your journey, all right? A little bit about my story, guys. Rent-to-rent changed my life. Completely changed my life because just 6 years ago, I had no experience in property whatsoever, all right? No experience whatsoever. And I'll never forget it. 28th of April, 2017, I hit rock bottom. And I knew I needed to make a change. You see, I was in a career, I was self-employed, where the business was up and down. Okay, it was like the feast or the famine. And I had no consistency. I had no mortgage. Lived in rented accommodation all my life. I was soon to be married. Maybe getting a bit of stick from the parents-in-law and all that. And thinking, something needs to change here. So I explored cryptocurrency. 2017, guys. Price was $3,000. It's 100 now, right? My problem was I just didn't have the capital to really do it. You know, I was doing like 50 quid here, 100 quid there. It was never going to make me rich. So I turned my attention to drop shipping. Oh, maybe this drop shipping, it's an Amazon store or something, could be for me. Nah, didn't seem right. And after exploring all these options, you know what? I just thought, I'm just gonna get a standard 9-to-5 job, which I'd never had at this point. Okay, so I was on Indeed and I found this sales executive role and it sounded great with, you know, ceilingless commissions. And I thought, yeah, this sounds good. So I went to the first interview. That went well. Got invited to the second interview and I was feeling good about this. And when I got there, it was weird because I was made to feel like I was maybe one of 5. There's like 40 people in this room. It's like, I'm not special. Anyway, this lady, her name was Marie. She said, Simon, you're with me today. She gave me this big backpack, put it on my back. We walked outside. And before I knew it, we just stopped at a bus stop. This doesn't feel very executive. Got on this bus. And lo and behold, we got off this bus, and what was in the backpack was a table and some flyers and stuff. And they had me set up outside of a freezing cold, wet co-op selling life insurance. I hit rock bottom. I thought to myself, it's got to be better than this. So I tried to like power through. I thought, you know what, maybe it is okay. Maybe it will be good. After about 5 minutes, I excused myself to go to the toilet. There's a Costa Coffee opposite this co-op, and I went in there. There's always a downstairs toilet in a Costa Coffee. I went in there and I slammed the door. I picked up the phone and I called Lucy, my wife now. She wasn't my wife at this point. She could have bounced. I said, look, Luce, they've got me selling life insurance outside of a co-op, and anybody that knows me knows I'm always layered up. So I'm freezing cold, right? And I'll never forget it. The line went quiet for a few seconds, and she said to me, come home. And it always gets to me because it was the longest journey home. I went back across the road outside the co-op and I said, look, Marie, it's nothing personal, but I just don't think this is for me. Okay? Then I stormed off. Have you ever seen that Kevin Hart sketch where he like has an argument, he has a row with his argument, he's like, damn this, I'm going. Slams the door, leaves the house, goes to the car. Shit, I forgot the car keys. Right. She has to go back in, locked out. Well, that was me, because as soon as I said to Marie, this ain't for me, I walked 10 yards off and then I realized the bus stop was right here. So I stood here awkwardly for the next 8 minutes waiting for the 703 into the city centre thinking, oh shit. So I got home, and you know what's really interesting? And I've never shared this. I've never shared this. Who's heard this story before? A lot of you. So you'll know that usually I kind of go to present day, right? But what you don't know, and what I've never shared, is what happened after. Who wants to hear that? Yeah. Okay. 6 months later. Okay. I kind of been realizing maybe property is what I need. So I went down the next day, started looking at loads of videos and stuff and exploring this stuff. But nothing really happened for 6 months, guys. Okay. I went to a property course, a little bit like this type of thing. I went to one of these events and they promised this deal sourcing strategy because I didn't have a huge amount of money. They said to me, hey, you don't have to buy the property. What you can do is you can just source it and sell it to an investor for £3,000 to £5,000 and you're going to be rich. And the cost of this program, of course, was £20,000. But for today, and only today, Simon, it was 1997. Now, I went to this property event and I spoke to one of my mates who was in property and he said, whatever you do, do not run to the back of the room. I didn't know what that meant, but I did. I ran straight to the back of the room. I didn't know how I was going to afford it. I definitely couldn't pay in one. And I had a credit card that I'd only got for the wedding. I think the limit was £1,000 on it. So I'd have had to have done a 2-pay. So I'm in this line, and before I do it, I call Lucy again. Say, hey, listen, basically what it is, right, Luce, is there's this program. Okay, it's a weekend course. They're going to show us everything we need to know. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. And it should be 20 grand. But it's just 1997. Can I do it? What did Lucy say? She said, Si, if it feels right, do it. The second time she backed me. 6 months later, guys, nothing changed, right? I went to the course. The problem with the course was it was just a 2 days. there's only so much we can show people in 2 days, right? Of course. So I went back to Derby and I thought, right, do you know what? I'm going to go. 12 months later, I didn't even know what rent-to-rent really was at this point. But I was getting some serious stick now. Even Lucy's losing her patience with me now. She's like, you know, you're going to have to do something. So I decided to sell my car, which I had a BMW M Sport at the time. I sold it. WeBuyAnyCar.com. Spent £25,000 cash on this car some years earlier. Got 7.5 grand for it. Tough pill to swallow. And I was very, very fortunate enough to be able to, my parents helped me out with a little bit of money. And I decided, you know what, all these sexy, complicated, scammy strategies, maybe they're not true. I'm just going to buy a solid 2 up, 2 down property, right? It's a solid 2 up, 2 down property, which was beautiful. It was great. But the problem was, what happened? I only had one car to sell. I only had one parent that could help me out the once, right? So I ran out of what? Money. I ran out of money. Now, that was when I was like, okay, then, well, let me go back to these sort of sexy strategies and see if any can work. And then I found rent-to-rent. Okay? I thought, okay, let me give rent-to-rent a try. 18 months later, I finally got my first rent-to-rent deal. Who here has been trying for 6 weeks and thinks it doesn't work? It happens, right? I know some of you have been trying for longer than that and you're still here. So big shout out to you guys. But all this is to be said, guys, that this was a journey for me, as it was a journey for you. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question, guys. Who has a 9 to 5 right now that they'd love to sack their boss? Just stick your hand up if you've got a 9 to 5. Okay, if you've been doing that job for more than 18 months, keep your hand up. If you've been doing that career, even if you've changed employer for more than 5 years, keep your hand up. If you've been doing that career for more than a decade, keep your hand up. So why is it after 90 days or 6 months or 9 months, we feel like this isn't for us? Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you 15 seconds to speak to the person next door to you and just let me know what resonates most about that for you. Go. Thanks. Share what resonated most with you about that. How long are you in? Where are you at?
What resonated with me is that I've been on the program for just over 3 months already. And the despondency you feel when you're not able to get across the line makes me think that actually I get in my head with the 3 months. So I'm thinking, I have to do it for 3 months. I have to do it. You don't have to do it in 3 months. You just keep being persistent and pushing forward because 3 months is just a time. Ideally, you would want to do it in the 3 months, but in actual fact, it's not necessarily reality. It's possible, but the reality is that you have to be persistent and keep on pushing. Don't allow it to deter you.
Thank you.
You've got to stay on that track.
Sandra, make some noise, Sandra, please. Thank you. Okay, let's hear from Kim. Let's hear from Kim, who's right here, Lucy. Yep. Kim, you're in the first class now, rocking and rolling, but like, what was your sort of timeline like?
Well, it felt like forever, but I actually got my first deal, I think, in 3 weeks. It really felt like a long time. I was like, actually, I remember saying to you however long ago, it's much harder to get these viewings than what I thought it would be. I was like, well, I'm doing this full time, so I can just, I'll easily get in 10, 15 viewings in a week. And it did take a long time, but to get the viewings. But yeah, it was a bit quicker, but I was lucky to find the right landlord at the right time, that it was the right thing for him. So, part of it is luck, but you also make your own luck. So it's about keeping going.
Perfect. Yeah, I remember you like really rocked after like 2.5, 3 weeks of not really getting anything, right?
Yeah.
That was just 3 weeks.
I know, but also I'm a bit impatient, so I'm like, why isn't it happening right now? It kind of did, but yeah.
Okay, who here has it taken longer than 6 months to get their first deal? Just stick your hand up, but you've got a deal now. Oh my goodness, the definition. Sophia, she's just to the right of you, Liz. Sophia, how long did it take you? Yeah, my bad.
Hi, it took me
I say 10 months to get a deal.
Wow.
But it took me about 70 odd viewings. I stopped counting after about 50. But I think it's about 70 odd viewings.
How did you not quit?
I just thought, it takes time to get to where you want to be. And, I knew this wasn't going to be quick money. I knew it wasn't going to be hard. But I just had to be persistent because I believed in what it could offer me. I've done various things like yourself. I've done drop shipping. I've done network marketing. But I really believe in property and I believe in this model. So, and I can see what it's done for other people as well. So
beautiful. A round of applause for Sophia, please, guys. Okay. Good. Just do me a favor, guys. Right at the back on the bottom row. Can you hear me loudly? Stick your hand up if you can hear me. Okay, I'm just controlling my voice because I lost it for about, my voice has been struggling for a couple months, so I'm just not speaking too loudly. Okay, so let's go to the good part, guys. Where are we at today? Lifetime cash flow, over £5 million from properties I don't own, okay? Because what you don't know, or what you might know, is after this, I then did 20 deals in the next 12 months. And I talk about the tipping point, and the first part's uphill, 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 uphill. But once you get it, you rock and roll. That's over £1 million of rent-to-rent revenue, annual revenue, 25 grand of cash flow, and that was from paying a team of 10 people. Okay, so that was me doing very, very little. And over 60, I think it's over 70 now, HMO and SA deals. Who's got the book? If you've not got the book, get the book, man. It's a great read. All that stuff's good, but this is what it really means. Okay? This is what it really means. Being able to take my parents, Lucy, to Dubai, business all first, deal with the accommodation, not have to worry. Got Lucy out of her day job, got my mum out of her day job. I now have a little girl. She's been to the Maldives 3 times in 18 months. Well, technically 1 year. She's flying first like 6 times. And it's like, oh, goodness me. And she's just like so bossy already. So, but that's my why, guys. Okay, that's my why. And what's really interesting, and I want to share a lot of future with you today, is when you're in a very volatile, very sort of investment heavy strategy such as rent to rent, we need to secure this. Not just today, but long term. Can you imagine the feeling now if my mum has to go and get another job at 60 because I don't deliver? I don't want to be that guy. Okay? So how do I secure this? And that's been my focus. That was my focus last year. My theme of the year was security last year. And I'll share with you exactly what that meant. Wow, here we are then. Who was in this picture from last year? Super conference last year. And, look, guys, we have the best community, right? That's like, people say, Simon, why do you do this? Because I want to give back and I love the community and I just feel like we just do it so differently to the others. And that's what I'm trying to protect. And that's what I'll always do the most for. Okay? Here's the future, guys. Yes. More first class. Here's the future. So this was a development I've been working on for the past 3 years. If I showed you that first property that we purchased for £87,000, 2 up, 2 down terrace property, compared to this is a bit scary, right? Purchased this for 450 grand. I've done a YouTube series on it. The first video, I said it's going to take me 6 months and I'm going to spend 150 grand. It took me 2.5 years. A bankrupt builder that just took our money, some roofers that threatened to pull the whole roof off if I didn't pay them for the roof twice because the builder went bust with the roof money. Imagine that. And We spent 450 grand on it. It's now worth 1.2 million, guys. That was a steep learning curve. We was talking last night. But the point is that there's so much future here for you guys. And my job as the mentor is to be able to see round corners. Now, I've got one sort of warning, disclaimer for everybody in this room, okay? We have a tendency to do a deal, do 3 deals, do 5 deals, maybe do 20, and stop investing in ourselves. Stop learning. It's very risky. It's very, very dangerous. And the reason is because there's so many corners, okay? And that's why I like community, because I can guarantee there's people in this room that have seen behind corners that you haven't, that I haven't. That's what it's all about. Okay, cool. So let's get into some content. So if you go into your black booklets, you should see a model that looks a little bit like this. And what I would love for you to do is open it up, get your pens out. Oh, by the way, the pens are nice, right? Come on. Big shout out to Tom. He designed all the merch. Now, there's a 4th circle. How many circles do you see? 1, 2, 3. There's a 4th circle. And I'm going to share it with you this weekend. But first things first, let's focus on the foundations. In order to build a 7-figure rent-to-rent business, okay, people usually come to me. They want to do rent-to-rent for 3 reasons. The first is they want to generate money. The second thing they want to do, zoom in a bit more, is they want to get their time back. And the third thing, okay, is they want financial freedom, right? Security, not having to worry about money, family, health, doing something that you hate, traveling, whatever that freedom looks like for you. Now, if you don't execute this model 360, you will not achieve those 3 things. And a big shout out to Guy, who, just because I've done this myself, it took time for me to learn this, and then time for me and Guy to sit down and create this. So it's just a really clear roadmap for you guys. So it doesn't take you 5-6 years. There's people in here that have built £1 million rent-to-rent business in half the time I did through this model. So the first step of this model is, of course, you got to get deals, and we call that control. This is the first thing that we focus on. How do you get a deal? Okay, and if I just zoom in on that for you guys, this comprises of 3 stages. The first is, we call it prepare. And this consists of all the foundations: setting up the business, being compliant, having the correct contracts, understanding your target area. Who here has had questions and uncertainty around your area? Like, which area should you invest in? Some people start investing and then still have that fear. Okay, well, this is the part where we need to use precise market data so we're not guessing. Now, who here has had a little bit of issues with occupancy this year? Okay, now, there is a small chance you didn't do this part right. Because I know some of you are like, oh, Simon, I've seen this model, you do it every time. But then you're struggling with occupancy. So let's listen with new ears, because if you don't do this part correctly, you could have issues later. Second stage is, of course, to source these deals. You know, a lot of people just go out there, my brother, a lot of people just go out there and start calling landlords, viewing properties, just going crazy, but they don't really understand the optimum way of doing it. So we talk about 15 different ways to source rent-to-rent deals. And the key to scaling is having as many of those mechanisms set up simultaneously. So the way I scaled was I had 3 of these, 5 of these, 7 of these. So I had a constant lead source. Because the aim, guys, is that deals come to you, right? Who would like that? Who would like it so the deals just come to you? I mean, think about it. If you liken it to any other business, now let's just talk about, I know, so you've got a clothes shop. You don't want to be like taking your clothes like around the streets, do you? Trying to find customers constantly. You want them to come to you. That's how you get a scalable business. So there are levels to sourcing, and it's not just sitting on open rent all day. I promise you. Who's done that before? Just because it's the easiest don't mean it's the best. The third thing is closing the deals. Now, the thing with closing rent-to-rent deals is you've got to make it easy. And we're going to go through this in a little bit. You've got to make it simple. So if you've got any doubt or confusion, or you're not sure, or you haven't revised that elevator pitch, you can lose a lot of deals at this stage. And that can also be the reason why it takes you so long. I won't name no names, but I've been having a load of strategy sessions lately with the community, which has been amazing. And one strategy session, there was a potential deal in play. And what had happened on the viewing was we'd been talking about renovations, furniture, splitting the cost of them, and going really intricate into that detail. And what that tends to do is, because keep in mind, the landlord's got loads of leads hitting them up on open rent or whatever. And what tends to happen is they get overwhelmed, there's too much information, and then a family comes and views it after you, and they just think, oh, it's easier. So the key part with closing is you've got to be fast and you've got to be easy. However, you don't rush. You never rush a contract. Take your time. Finding this useful so far, guys? Great. Who's brand new to this model? Okay, big shout out to you guys. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. The next stage is a really, really important one, guys. I'm going to pick a lovely color for this one. This is really, 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 really key. Let's go for orange. This is, you've then got to cash flow the property. If you have deals but you don't generate income, this is not going to be a business. And you're not going to get what? This part here, guys, you're not going to get the money. Remember, control plus cash flow gets you the money, right? So whether you're doing SA, HMO, social housing, you know, whatever it is, you've got to make sure that you can monetize these properties. Now, the first step in this is you've got to get the refurb right. You have to get the refurb right. So once again, if you are struggling with cash flow, is there a chance you didn't quite get the refurb right on the deal, which means you didn't get the marketing right on the deal, which means you've not realized this? Because the second thing we want to do is marketing. But you don't want to be marketing a turd. Now, you've got to strike a balance here, right? You don't want to rush the refurb in 5 days, but to the same degree, you don't want to be spending normally longer than a couple of weeks on these refurbs. And ideally, you want to be negotiating the rent-free period. A lot of you just need to dare to ask. I guarantee you. Like, I had a property, for example, had a little bit of damp. And at that point, I had confidence. And I said to him, listen, I can run the damp. You'll need to do it. You know, I'm going to need 2 months rent-free. I said it with that much confidence. He just said, okay. I know some of you are like, oh, well, would you be okay with 1 week rent-free? Apologetically, they would have gave you 3 weeks. But you're just not asking. And that can be the difference between hitting the ground running and not. Because I know a lot of people, you know, if you're 2-3 weeks and you've been paying the rent, and you've not yet generated income, you can get a bit antsy, starts breeding anxiety, partners and people can get in your head, and then before you know it, you've got a abundant mindset that's been completely destroyed, and now you're feeling all scarce. And scarce money don't make money, okay? And last but not least, we've got the management. Not easy. Okay? Often overlooked. If you don't get the management correct and right, it will seriously destroy your cash flow. So you've got to get that dialed in. Okay? You've got to get that dialed in from day one, because that's the product now. And it's got to be good. Okay. The final step is what, somebody? Exactly, systemize. So, this is when we need to systemize in order to free up your time. Okay. Who here has a decent portfolio now, but you're struggling for time? Anybody? Don't be shy. Come on, be honest. Yeah. Yeah. There's some big people there. Because what's going to happen is a lot of you are going to have kids. You're going to have day jobs. You've now got 5 or 10 properties. Okay, so what needs to happen is you need to really, a lot of this stuff now is mindset. It's lifestyle. It's running a business. It's cash flow management. You know, like this is what it really takes. And I know we've got quite a high level room, so I'm giving you the real stuff here. We've got to get this stuff right. You've got to get it right, guys. And there's 3 parts that we do here. The first part is we're going to need the right software. This means getting the channel manager, getting the property management software if you're doing HMO, dialing everything in, you know, automations, pricing, market data, automated check-in, deposits. Let's get all that dialed in, because once you've got that dialed in, you can then scale. Second thing is processes. So what I did in my business is every time I wanted to outsource something, I just created a process. A lot of you guys will know this. You'll do it at work or in your businesses. And then that's how I handed it over. I would rather 3 tasks be done 100% than 20, 50%. Because I'm still in the task. But a lot of people don't know how to train people. And they also don't let go. Like, guys, I've had nothing to do with the arrangement of this event now. My team deal with it. I have to do 2 things. I have to show them, and then I have to let go. Do you know what I mean? If I don't allow them to do it, they'll never do it. It's really important. And then last but not least, that's when you can then build the team. Now, I've hired a lot of people in my time now. I think there's like over 20 of us in SSO now, which is pretty crazy, running this. hire fast. Okay? Just get them on board, pay good money. And if it's not working, let them go. And the first hire that everybody in here needs, and I recommend this probably when you're doing around $5,000 profit, you know, which you should be able to do within the first 6 to 9 months, given the framework, is a personal assistant. Have you guys met Shannon? My personal assistant, you know Shannon? Okay, we'll go and find her later. She's great, right? Having a personal assistant and being able to, I don't do my emails, she does my emails. I don't do my calendar, she does my calendar. Okay, she just tells me where I need to be. And most importantly, we have morning syncs where, and I learned this from Richard Branson or Dan Martell. The book's called Buy Back Your Time. It's a blue book, go check it out. We do a sync meeting and I basically just offload all the things that I don't need to prioritize on today, and she does them. And it's an absolute game changer because it saves me hours every day. So you gotta let go. And it's worth every penny, guys, because if you're paying somebody X, but that frees up your time to do Y, the return is ridiculous, but you just gotta have the confidence to do it. And just for the record, I'm not a big fan of VAs because I like real people. And some of the stuff I offload is in person, especially if you're running a rent-to-rent business. Okay? I don't go to my units and I've not done for a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to do about 60 seconds in our table, speak to the person next door. What was the biggest sort of penny drop moment? Okay, and what do you think you need to focus on out of these? And I'll zoom out. 60 seconds, please. Okay, let's do some shares. Let's do some shares. Anybody from this table want to share what you're focused on right now? Shannon? Leondi and Leondi? Okay, so first thing, what was your biggest sort of take home from that?
We need to look at the control and sourcing for our next property to make sure we do that better than we did the first one, because the first one is a bit of a hit and miss, like, you know.
Yeah.
But we've got the refurb done on our first property, so now it's the cash flow and the marketing to make sure we don't get it being empty, and the management side. So we are concentrating on the marketing and the management side at the minute. And also, when I got that sorted, starting to source the next one. And while Mom sorts the control for the first one, I'm going to start working on systemization. So when we got the second one, it's just putting it into the systems.
Yeah,
so
that's really good.
Because we need to work full time to pay the bills, so the business sorts itself out. So we don't take my money to do the business.
Yeah.
But the business shouldn't be paying me yet until the third or fourth property.
Yeah.
So that's where we're working. I want to systemize everything and still have time for the family and do my business.
Yeah, really good. Round of applause, please. Thank you for sharing. So, what's really interesting is, as you can see from the model, guys, right? You can technically outsource these petals. So it helps you like create roles if you think about it, because you could have somebody that just focuses on the marketing of your portfolio. That easily could be an assistant. You could have somebody that just focuses on the management. My mum was my service accommodation manager. Had to get her out of it. She's 60 now. It's just like, it's fun. You know, you could have somebody that just focuses on your refurbs. I'm doing a BRR at the moment. Paul, he runs my refurbs. So you can also, when you're looking at hiring, you can outsource this stuff. And then what you'll do is you'll keep the highest value tasks. So for example, sourcing or closing could be the highest value task for you. So you might keep that. And what's another really good point is if you're a couple, you can separate. You can separate. That's really cool because you can be like, you focus on cash flow. I'll focus on control, which is what you're saying, right?
And when we all make enough money, my husband will leave his job and join the company as well.
Perfect.
So we're all going to be great people without paying anyone else for ourselves.
I love it. Okay, who else wants to share? Somebody over here. Hey, Haley. Somebody over here wants to share, what was your biggest take home from this and what do you need to focus on right now? Yeah, what's your name? Yeah, Jackie. Chloe? Jackie?
Hello. So this is focused on HMO because that's
Brilliant.
what I've got at
Good.
the moment.
Good.
The biggest takeaway for me was the refurb bit because I think where I've been taking on an HMO,
Yeah.
and I've been probably panicking about needing to get it filled as quickly as possible.
Yes.
I've been not really doing much to the HMO.
Okay.
And I think I could be doing more because I filled it in the beginning and then 2 years later I'm now struggling to fill some of those rooms where they've become
Yes.
void and it's a false economy. I could do more at that point when I take it on, I think. So
Great. Where's your HMO?
all over the place.
Okay. How many you got?
4 at the moment.
Okay. All rent to rents?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations. All right. Round of applause for Jackie. All right. 2 good points here. 2 good points. So in terms of HMO, really great strategy, guys. Consistent cash flow. It was my bread and butter. In that first year, I did 19 HMO and 1 SA. I did 19 HMO and 1 SA. And big top tip, guys. Your aim at the beginning is to find a formula that works. Then once you find that formula, you rinse and repeat. People that struggle with occupancy tend to do different stuff, and every single time you take on a property, you're rolling the dice. Because you did a 2-bed over here that worked, then you did a 4-bed over there, and for some reason that's not working quite as well. Then you did 2 3-bed apartments in over there, and that worked really well. So then you tried 2 apartments, but over here, and that didn't work. So you're constantly guessing. See, what I would urge you to do is at the beginning, you are going to guess for the first one, but when you do one and it works, you then do that. Same area, same property, ideally the same road. If anybody ever came to the Derby Discovery days when I used to hire a bus and take you around my portfolio, I would have 5, 6, 7 properties on the same road because I would just do another one until it stopped working. Then after, the neighbors hated me, whichever came first. So that's really, really key. Now, if you do one deal and it's not working that great, you then want to do something different, right? Until you land on the winning formula, and then you rinse and repeat. Is that useful, guys? Cool. In terms of refurb and HMO rooms, the thing I love about HMO is you can hustle your way to filled rooms. Service accommodation is very hard to hustle your way to 100% occupancy. That's one of the most common questions people ask me. How do I increase my occupancy? Should I send letters to companies? And usually the answer is you can, but when everybody goes away, the first thing they do is go in Google and search, and it comes with Booking.com and Airbnb. So that's the biggest leverage piece. The biggest leverage piece isn't you going to one travel lodge and leaflet and vans at 5 a.m. in the morning. If we just look at the leverage, okay? HMO is different. You got to be good at sales for HMO. Okay? You got to hustle. Whoever's on spare room, hitting up tenants, building rapport, making phone calls, doing video viewings, and all that stuff will win. So 2 quick tips. Tip number 1 is even if you just do it room by room, it's definitely worth investing. I'd probably look at investing a maximum of £500 per room to get it where it needs to be. Sometimes what you can do is if you've got 2 empty rooms and 2 full rooms, you can refurb the empty rooms, and then the tenants in those rooms start thinking, bloody hell, that's nice. And then you can increase their rent to move. And then you can go back, something I've done a lot of. So the first 2 tips is number 1, build the rooms up. And the other thing I love that you said, Jackie, was a property. You know, who's got a property that was kind of just on the brink of being good enough today, but you went for it? And it will work well, but that property in 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, kitchen's 5 years older, bathroom's 5 years older, it's not going to be as good, right? So a lot of this is understanding the timings and making sure that you do refresh them, because you don't want to give yourself a big refurb at the end of the agreement. Okay, useful? Okay, one more share towards the back of the room, please. Stick your hand up really high so the girls can see. Which part of the model resonates the most, and where do you need to focus on? Somebody at the back. If nobody picks, just give them the mic.
Hello, everybody. Refurb is for my one. I'm Keith.
Yes, Keith.
I've just signed a deal for a property, and
Hang on a minute. You just did what?
Signed a property.
Round of applause, everyone.
Well, the inks will try. Yeah, but I haven't told you.
I just signed a deal for.
I haven't told you the other side of it.
Oh God.
Refurb. Conversation with the landlord. The painting needs doing. He wasn't happy to do anything.
Yeah.
But because it's a 3-bedroom property and the amount of rent he wanted was cheap for the month, I took it. There's schools, there's football clubs local, but I'm now struggling on the length of time for refurbing. So that is my focus, refurb, to get the cash flow in.
Okay, can I ask you a few questions around that?
Yes.
Okay, so when does the agreement start?
Yeah. I looked at your video after the ink was dried. And I know exactly what everybody's going to say is a no-no, so I'll remember that for future. It was, I will allow you to have free rent for 2 weeks.
That's what you got?
That's what I've got.
Okay, and then where are we in that timeline?
A week.
Okay, so you're a week in.
Yes.
First rent's due next week.
Yes.
Okay, and what works do you need to do?
Painting and furniture, that's it.
Okay, who's painting?
I'm going to have to do it myself.
Where are you based?
Ipswich.
Okay, I might have a painter for you.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, all right, thanks very much. Make some noise. Let me give you some advice on that. So, some of my best deals at the beginning, and once again, a lot. Is this going to be really big? No, it's okay. Some of my biggest deals at the beginning did need work because that's where they're really motivated, because the family thought the carpet stunk, because the walls weren't great. Really motivated landlords. Okay, and our offer is so good for motivated landlords. Now, if you look at YouTube and you look at my more recent stuff, it's all sexy, it's all new, it's all nice, but it wasn't always like that. And at the beginning, it may not be. So how do we do this? Well, we need to understand that, guys, if you sign a property for 5 years and we break even within the first 6 months, okay, we've got another 54 months of what? That's okay. I would do that a lot. My average refurb was probably 2.5 to 3 grand on furniture. It was probably 1,500 quid on carpets. And then it was probably £1 grand on painting, because I just got this burly cash in the hand type of brother. And he just would wipe through these houses, and he was such a perfectionist, he'd insist on doing the woodwork as well. Okay? Beautiful. If you see my early stuff, it was white walls, feature walls, grey carpets, the same 2-3 colours feature walls, the same furniture they're called Silly Sids, a local furniture place that would just bring all the furniture. And I would happily invest 5k. Happily. Okay? I'd happily do that, knowing that I'm going to break even. What you don't want to do is half-ass it and not get the results, maybe try and spend 2, well, you probably in reality end up spending 3 thinking you're saving money. But in reality, what happens is it now takes you so much longer to fill the property or get the occupancy that the whole deal doesn't work. So you think you're saving money, but you're not. So big piece of advice is it's better to do this stuff right. Got it? What would I do if I was you now? I would... Are you a good painter? Yes or no? Okay. Why am I looking at Marcus like just thinking, we got a chat. We got a chat. But yeah, like, guys, like, I don't think you understand, like, I literally can't put a shelf up. Outsource everything. Okay? If you want to go fast and you want to move, speed is of the essence, just pay the money and get it done. Okay? But I'm going to introduce you to a painter that's in the community that can help you, okay? Okay, brilliant. That's really, 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 really good. And also, whilst it's just on the tip of my tongue, who here is looking for really good photography for their properties? Okay, so I've got an introduction for you there as well, wherever you guys are. Okay, perfect. Can I do one more model or are we done? I'm okay. Okay, cool. If you want to turn to page 2 of your booklets, please. And Mike, if you could just pop the slides on for me quickly. There we go. Who recognizes these two lovely people? Make some noise for Ricky and Roxy. Okay. So, when I met Ricky and Roxy, and we're going to be hearing from loads of people this weekend, but when I met Ricky and Roxy, they had a 3-year plan. And their 3-year plan was to generate £8,000 a month net. They came to me and said, Simon, in 3 years' time, we want to be generating £8,000 a month. So it was a realistic time frame, right? And it was a realistic goal that was going to change their lives. Okay? Just going to give you guys 15 seconds to write down where you want to be in 3 years, cash flow wise. Just write it down. What I want everybody to do is I want you to write that figure in this box right here. So let's do Ricky and Roxy, 8K. Done it? Done it, guys? Got it. Then what I want you to do is I want you to write where you wouldn't be over the moon, but you'd kind of be okay in this box here. So you could say 4K, right? For example. Then we're going to go right to the bottom, and this basically, guys, is 0. This is you've quit. This is you drifted off and you never even got started. And then this one here, it's kind of failure. Could be where you are right now, but you know, in this example, it could be 1K. You've not quit, you're doing 1K. Now, the reason it's important to always tie goals to cash flow is because that's measurable. But I prefer more money, less deals. So stay away from comments like, I want 5 deals this year. Because the tendency with that is that's ego. So you kind of have to stop yourself and pull back. I want 5 deals this year. Why? Well, it just sounds like what I want. Well, why? Well, because I want to make $5,000 a month. Okay. Well, let's make $5,000 a month then and do it in 3. If the goal is $5,000. Okay. So when Ricky and Roxy came to me, they had this 3-year plan. You can write 3 years here. That was today for them. Well, it was actually, I want to say it was January 2022. Is that right, Rox? Was it 2023? 2023. I feel like I've known you forever. This is your 3-year plan. So the whole point of this weekend, and this is what we do here, is we help people reach their goals faster. That's the whole point. Anybody guess how long it took Roxy to hit 8 grand a month? This is 3 years. This is 2 years. This is 1 year. Somebody said a year. No? Anyone else? 6 months. You heard this story before. We got Roxy to that goal in just 6 months. Make some noise, guys. Now, I want you to ask yourself a question, okay? Whatever you've written as your 3-year goal, would you like to do it in 6 months? Would your life be a lot better if you did it in 6 months? What about 12 months? Would that be good too? Okay. Well, the beautiful thing is you're in the right place to make that happen. We're going to have a break in a few moments. But before we do, I just want to share something with you. I had a goal, okay? I had a goal. It was probably a 2-year goal. I won't tell you what it is. I had no idea. I knew the goal, but I had no idea how I was really going to do it. I just said it, right? I just said it. And I've been struggling to reach this goal for a long time until I aligned with a community and somebody that had done that goal. Okay? And I've achieved it in 2.5 months. Okay? That's the cost of not investing in yourself and being in the right community. So I just want to thank you guys very much for being here. You're absolutely in the right place. And I'm just going to give you 60 seconds to talk amongst yourself with just your biggest take home from this morning. All right? Thank you very much. 60 seconds.